All right, welcome back to the Propcast. We are joined once again by the prop king himself, Bob Stanley, and the newest addition to the BettorOff team. If you've been checking out our TikTok, you've seen him. Dan, how the heck do you pronounce your last name?
Skudlovsky, just drop the Z, you'll be all right.
All right, Dan dropped the Z. What we're going to be doing today, we're going to be talking about Bob's picks, season long, and player totals for awards and what players do over the course of this 17 game season. That means your team is going to have 17 games instead of 16 plus a bye week. Then they go get beat by Tom Brady and you can be all pissed off. So we're going to jump right into it. Bob has on the sheet here that he sent me that we study, it says recipe for MVP. Bob's cooking up some MVP picks. Bob, what's your recipe? And then we'll talk about the three quarterbacks who you think might fit this.
Sure. Well, you tipped it a little bit when you said quarterback, but generally speaking, a recipe for an MVP when you're going into the season, there were a few quotas or requirements as we've seen over the last 20 years or so. So dating back to 2000, this formula has hit 85% of the time, and that is a quarterback on a top 2 team in conference or division winner, so we'll say top 4 seed in the playoff, and also has a good storyline. The only other times, it was 3 other times since year 2000 that this didn't hit. That was Sean Alexander in 05, LaDainian Tomlinson in 06, and Adrian Peterson in 2012. So we can narrow it down safely to a QB, and then we can say a QB on a successful team, so top 2 in conference or a division winner. Storyline also plays a factor in that. You can look at Tom Brady. Is he going to go for, his 5th or his 4th MVP later in the year? Is it a first-time winner? Patrick Mahomes was a second-year quarterback. So storyline definitely plays a factor. But just looking at it, QB on a successful team. So who are my picks and who fits this narrative? To me, the 3 players that stand out the most to me, they are all quarterbacks. They are Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills at 13-1 on FanDuel, Matthew Stafford at 18-1 on BetMGM, and Justin Herbert as my long shot at 20-1 on FanDuel. So why these 3 guys? If you look at the Buffalo Bills, obviously they're a very successful team last year. I think Josh Allen just got paid, continues his progress. At 13-1, he's obviously the safest play. I think the Buffalo Bills are a lock to be a top 2 seed. It's going to be them and the Chiefs. Potentially, we could see the Cleveland Browns jump in there. But Josh Allen, with his feet, with his passing, I think Stephon Diggs is obviously a clear-cut number 1. Cole Beasley, as controversial as he is one of the better slot receivers in the NFL. So Josh Allen at 13-1 stands out as my favorite. He would also be a first-time winner.
What has happened to the world? 5 years ago, if I'd heard you say the locks for the top 2 seeds in the AFC are the Chiefs and the Bills, but oh wait, the Browns might sneak in there, you'd have me committed.
It's true. No, and it's exciting. That's what makes the NFL as great as it is the amount of turnover we see every year. Obviously, there's the perennial franchises, but now the Buffalo Bills, the Cleveland Browns, and then sprinkle in here my surprise team this year is your Los Angeles Chargers.
So we have Matt Stafford, who has done something that neither Calvin Johnson nor Barry Sanders ever managed to do, escape Detroit. And then we have Justin Herbert of Oregon Ducks fame down there in also Los Angeles. They're all in Los Angeles except for Josh Allen, who is in the complete freaking opposite of Los Angeles. I'm still getting that in my head from 0 teams to 2 teams. Dan, what do you think about these 3? Who looks good to you? Allen, Stafford, Herbert? Who do you like?
So obviously, to me, I think the MVP is probably Patrick Mahomes to lose. Obviously, the fact that he's plus 500 to win MVP, and the next closest person is A-Rod at plus 1,000. I mean, Mahomes absolutely, rightfully coming into it, should be the favorite to win MVP. However, I do like Allen probably the second most out of everyone on that list. I think you have it spot on. I honestly think it's going to be so close between Allen and Mahomes that it's literally going to come down to, if they face each other in the AFC Championship game, who's going to the Super Bowl or who comes home with a ring at the end of the year. I think these two, even though they're going to have I think their numbers may look not exactly the same as far as passing, rushing, touchdowns, distribution, etc. I do like Josh Allen a lot this year, and I think that the expectation of Mahomes also doesn't help him at all. I think Allen has the opportunity to obviously have to go to a Super Bowl for the Bills, win that ring for the first time in God knows how long, and that's kind of expected of Mahomes. And anything less than that is going to look as, this past season. A lot of Chiefs fans think last season wasn't successful, and that'll happen again if they have the weapons that they have. And the same thing happens again. So I think Allen actually has a really good shot. I think plus 1,300 is generous on his odds. I would probably put him down plus 900, plus 1,000. So I would probably, on this list of those who have their odds at the top right now, I think Allen's who I'm looking at.
And so if Josh Allen brings a Super Bowl to Buffalo, we're going to have an issue, because they're just going to rename the city Allentown, and then there's going to be an Allentown, Pennsylvania, and Allentown, New York. I don't know why that would cause an issue. There are plenty of cities that have the same names. Bob, out of those three, those are your picks. Mm-hmm. Who do you like for value?
For value, Allen was obviously the chalk play. Dan made a good point with Mahomes. His benchmark is himself. So for him to outdo himself, and plus the odds at 5-1, he's the favorite. He should be the favorite. But I don't see a lot of value in the 5-1, because again, he is playing himself. He has to have another career year, which is going to be tough for him to do. From a value standpoint, Stafford at 18-1. I think he has the storyline. He's, like you said, he escaped Detroit. I think the Rams have the possibility to be a top 3 team in the NFC. He's going to have the opportunity to really put up some stats and be on a winning team. So going into the season, the storyline's already built for Stafford.
What about Aaron Rodgers? Everyone's disrespecting him again. He's going to be pissed again because he goes in at 8-1. I mean, what does Aaron? This is good, right? A pissed off Aaron Rodgers is clearly the Aaron Rodgers that you want running the show in Wisconsin. What does Aaron Rodgers have to do? I'm convinced that Aaron Rodgers put on the show that he put on last year after seeing his average draft position in fantasy drafts and just lost his freaking mind. What's it going to take at 8-1 for Aaron Rodgers?
I mean, off the top of my head, 5,000 yards, 40-something touchdowns, and the number 1 seed. It's, again, same thing to Mahomes, like Dan said. He's competing against himself. So I think it's kind of stacked against him, and the value just isn't there at 8-1 for me. If he was around 12 or 13-1, I'd love it. At 8, not as much, given what he just did last year. Back-to-back is extremely hard to pull off in the NFL on MVP.
True enough. Let's move on to the season-long award for Defensive Player of the Year. So we have Myles Garrett on here at plus 600 and Derwin James at plus 3,800. That's the big cash play. I can relate to that one because I was almost named Derwin James Dubin. It was pretty close, but it didn't happen, and that's why I'm not in the NFL. Dan, Myles Garrett plus 600. What do you think?
I think that's, if I had to place a bet today on any Defensive Player of the Year, even though he is plus 600 and only behind Aaron Donald, that's the play that I'm going to take. I think just, like we talked about a little bit earlier, Cleveland being, like you just mentioned, Cleveland being in contention for the AFC is crazy. I mean, going into last season, obviously, their expectations were higher than a lot of people's. And they were able to actually kind of turn that around, get people on the bus with them. Going into this season, I mean, the 6th best odds to win the Super Bowl this year. I mean, I think the expectations being high, but not too high. And I think that the fact that, the shellacking they put on the Steelers in the postseason last year, coming into that division, get to play that team twice again. I just think excitement is really, really high in Cleveland this year, which is something I have not said since LeBron won back in 2016. Excitement's really, really high this year, and I think Garrett just on that defense. The defense is good. That team is good. And I think that he along with the rest of his team are looking to make that mark and finally get people to, show the respect that they most definitely deserve.
Bob?
No, definitely. So with the two plays, I had more of a favorite, a chalky play, and then obviously the long shot in Derwin James. But starting with Garrett, he's only had one 16-game season in his career. It was year 2. He put up 13.5 sacks. So now this season, he's got Clowney opposite him. They've completely revamped the secondary. So now you have coverage. Now you have a secondary who can hold coverage longer, which gives more opportunities for sacks. I think he's in line for anywhere from 16 to 20 sacks. And if this defense is as good as we're talking about, could they be a top 5 defense? This is where it makes the most sense. There's also another line on DraftKings for him to have the most sacks at 7.5 to 1. I love that. But Myles Garrett, I'm not shying away from the chalk on this one. He should be a favorite for a reason. I think Aaron Donald sees voter fatigue. It has to stop eventually. But if Garrett can get to between 16 and 19 sacks, and the Browns are a top 5 defense, I think this is as good as his. And now to my long shot, which is actually what I'm most excited about. So Derwin James going into year 3. We saw what Brandon Staley did last year to the Rams defense. We saw what he did for Jalen Ramsey's career. This guy is one of the most talented defensive backs in the league. They said he was more talented than coming out than Jamal Adams was. As a rookie, he put up 105 tackles, 3.5 sacks, and 3 interceptions. So he can fill out the stat sheet, which is what you want to see. As far as safeties to win Defensive Player of the Year, we got Polamalu, Ed Reed, and Bob Sanders. It's been done. That's 3 of them in the last 20 years. I think.
Did Charles Woodson never win an a Defensive Player of the Year as a safety?
Was not considered.
Only as a cornerback?
I think as a corner, yeah, when I looked it up. But again, a secondary player. I think Derwin James at 38 to 1 is insane value for a defense that can be springboarded into the top 10. A guy who can have 7 or 8 sacks. Can he get 5 or 6 interceptions? And he's playing in that big media market of LA. At 38 to 1, I'm putting a quarter or a half a unit on this. It's too much value for me to ignore for how talented he is. Health is the main concern there.
Big numbers for Derwin. All right, moving on. The NFL, all about offense, has been all about offense since roughly 1986. We have Justin Fields. Justin Fields at plus 800 for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Dan, what do you think?
I actually like T-Law in this. I know that Bob won't agree with me on that. But I actually do think Trevor Lawrence has a good chance of winning this. I mean, his odds are plus 270. Justin Fields. I mean, that's the thing about Rookie of the Year is it's impossible to predict because not only does the quarterback have to perform, but the team has to win games. The team has to perform. So it's like, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence can come out and they can have, 130, 140 QBRs to start the season and start out 0-5. They're not in the conversation right there. I mean, it's kind of what Justin Herbert found last year when he was trying to get Offensive Rookie of the Year is the team at the time just wasn't good enough to get him in that conversation. Then once he was able to win all those games in a row, he got him there. I actually like, I guess is a strong word. I'm very interested to see how Trevor Lawrence handles Jacksonville. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how Urban Meyer transfers his game from college to the pros. I think they have pretty good weapons. He's thrown to DJ Chark, Marvin Jones, Travis Etienne, James Robinson. I mean, these are good veteran players. And especially when you have
Tim Tebow.
Yes.
Future Hall of Fame tight end Tim Tebow. Dan, what are you doing?
Yeah, he was he was coming later in the good bets I was going to take. But I just think to have that good receiving core, that good, these guys have been around the block and done it for that new rookie quarterback is really important for him. Justin Fields, Chicago, man, I don't like it. It's been bad the last few years. Obviously, Trubisky had a great time there. I just think that place is there's just too much bad juju in Chicago for me right now.
I mean, the quarterback factory that the University of North Carolina is, I was personally shocked
Yeah,
that Mitch
absolutely.
Trubisky hasn't already won 2 rings. Bob, so good points there. Justin Fields, originally at Georgia, moves over because can't get the starting job. Finishes off at the Ohio State University. Huge numbers. Going to Chicago. I don't think you can argue. I mean, I guess maybe you can, that he doesn't have the same weapons. Where's your head on this?
Sure. Well, I mean, Trevor Lawrence is the favorite, should be the favorite. The NFL is heavily invested in the success of Trevor Lawrence, so I completely get that. I don't see the value at plus 250. When I look at Justin Fields, obviously we all feel comfortable. Offensive Rookie of the Year, it's usually tied to a quarterback. Justin Jefferson kind of snuck in last year late in the season. He ended up breaking the rookie receiving record and still didn't win. So that goes to show you this is a quarterback award. So why Justin Fields? 8-1 on a quarterback who I think will be starting probably by week 3 or 4, and there's rumblings he could win the job out of the gate. Probably won't be week 1, but if he gets in week 3 or 4, I actually think he can weasel this team into a 9-win, 10-win team. Allen Robinson, Cole Kmet, and David Montgomery, I do think are valuable weapons for him. He's going to be able to make plays with his feet, which is obviously, very, very exciting. He can put up, 500-600 yards rushing. Maybe he can get 7 or 8 rushing touchdowns. He can fill up the stat sheet, and I actually think he could get this team in wild card contention. Maybe not get them there, but if he can get in that 8, 9, 10 win range, and again, it's for a historic franchise. When the Chicago Bears are good, it's good for the NFL. So if he can turn this ship around and he's neck and neck with Lawrence, and like we think Lawrence's team may not be as successful, I think that's what could vault him, having the success of a team. So that may be where we only defer, is I think he can get Chicago to wild card contention. And at 8-1, I do think there's value there as a quarterback who we expect to start sooner rather than later.
Well, are we at all concerned about QB competition? So we've got in Jacksonville, we've basically got Gardner Minshew and his short shorts and his amazing mustache. In Chicago, they brought in Andy Dalton and Nick Foles. You've got 2 veteran starting quarterbacks, one of whom, led the Eagles to a mythical Jeff Hostetler-esque Super Bowl victory. If the Bears throw Foles out there or Dalton out there and they're doing okay, will Fields see the field? Is Gardner Minshew going to see the field? Dan?
Obviously, my contingency of Trevor Lawrence winning the Offensive Rookie of the Year means that Gardner Minshew will not see the field. They're going to start with Lawrence. They're going to go with Lawrence, obviously, from the jump. Like we were saying, the NFL, the city of Jacksonville, everybody is very invested in throwing Trevor Lawrence into the starting position, and I wouldn't be surprised if they waited 9 weeks to take him out. I don't think this is going to be something.
The great and historic city of Jacksonville.
Correct.
So, Bob, we have Trevor Lawrence pretty much ingrained as the starter right away. You know that Urban Meyer is not going to Jacksonville unless he gets Lawrence. Mm-hmm. Urban Meyer doesn't do anything unless it's as certain to be good as possible. But Fields has not been announced as the starting quarterback, and he's going up against 2 guys who can sling the ball around.
Well, fun fact on Nick Foles, he's actually the second best odds to start for the Colts week 1. You can bet that right now on DraftKings. There's talks of him leaving and going to Indy to take over for Carson Wentz and reunite with Frank Reich. And now we have Andy Dalton and Justin Fields. Again, I think maybe by week 4 we see Justin Fields. If you remember, Herbert didn't start until I think week 3 or 4 until Tyrod Taylor had a punctured lung. So you don't necessarily need to start week 1. It certainly helps you start padding the stats. But I think if Justin Fields, it can actually improve your stock. If you're coming in week 4, the team is 0-3, and Justin Fields starts raffling off, 4 or 5 wins, even though your stats aren't there, you've just increased your stock in this award. It really just comes down to value. And at 8-1, I'm sprinkling half a unit on that.
I like it. Let's move to the defensive side of the ball. Rookie of the Year. Bob, who do you like on this one?
This is actually my favorite bet, and it's probably the least known name of anyone on the list. Jamin Davis of the Washington football team, inside linebacker, first-round pick. He's 9-1 behind the best defensive line in the NFL. He had 3 picks his senior year, 1.5 sacks in only 10 games. This guy's rangy. He can get sideline to sideline. He makes plays with his hands. I think this guy's going to see anywhere from 120 to 150 tackles behind the best defensive line in football. If you remember Darius Leonard, guy just got paid the other day. He won Defensive Rookie of the Year because he had an insane amount of tackles, and he was on an average defense. This guy's going to be on probably a top 5 defense, and his numbers are going to be absurd playing behind that defensive line. So at 9-1, a guy who's going to fill up the stat sheet and be on a top 5 defense, I think come late December, it's going to be really hard to ignore him as Defensive Player of the Year.
Danny.
Defensive Rookie of the Year, sorry.
Again, I sound like kind of a broken record. I feel lame for taking all the favorites, but I do have a little bit of bias, put that out there, for Micah Parsons to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. I was fortunate enough. He was only a year below me at Penn State, and I was able to watch him basically play every game that mattered at Penn State under James Franklin. I think Micah Parsons is going to absolutely dominate in the NFL this year. And I have 3 bold predictions for him that I would love to share with you all. I think he's going to have over 100 tackles. I think he's going to win, obviously, the Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think he's going to make the Pro Bowl. I think he is watching him, obviously in college, watching him at the combine, watching him just preseason training. This guy is an absolute different breed. I mean, obviously to win plus 550, the next closest is plus 850. There's no stats that I can give you about how he's going to perform in the NFL because it is a different game. But if he can stay healthy, which has been, I mean, he sat his final year. He sat his final year for COVID. He should be healthy. He should be good to go. I'm sure he's raring to get back out there and get suited up. So I think not only is he going to win Player of the Year, he's going to win it easily, and he's also going to be a Pro Bowler and have over 100 tackles as a rookie.
Micah Parsons going to Hawaii. All right. Comeback Player of the Year. We're talking about Joe Burrow coming off a really frightening and unfortunate knee injury. And Jameis Winston, who in his career throws 74 interceptions per game. Dan, what are you thinking?
For Comeback Player of the Year for me, I mean, neither of these players.
Show me potato salad.
Can I guess Dak Prescott?
You could guess Dak Prescott.
So overrated. Can I yell about Dak Prescott for a second as a Giants fan? The year that he had where he lit up the NFL, he lit up the NFC East. He lit up the NFC East. I'm not going to say it a third time, but that's what he did. And then when he played teams that were actually good, he didn't light up the league. He was standing behind the greatest offensive line since Washington in the 80s. And he could only do it to the Giants and the Eagles and the Washington football team. I do not think Dak Prescott is as good as everyone says. Let's go Giants. Back to you guys.
I mean, I agree with you, even as an Eagles fan as well. So there we go. I'm sure we both have a mutual disdain for Dak Prescott. But staying in the NFC East, I do actually think Saquon Barkley is going to win the Comeback Player of the Year this year. Obviously played game and a half last year before going down with that ACL injury. But this is a guy, again, call it bias, Penn State bias, whatever. Watch that guy in person. This is a guy in 2018 behind a 5-11 Giants offensive line, ran for 1,300 yards as a rookie. In 2019, the even worse 4-12 Giants, he still got over 1,000 yards. Now, the Giants are not leaps and bounds better than they were then, right? They've started to figure out their quarterback issues. They've had some, they got rid of OBJ, found a little bit, Evan Ingram can't catch the ball, but that's a whole different thing. They are not a 12-5 team by any means. But I do think that they have padded their O-line and their offense a bit or enough where Barkley, if he is truly healthy, can run for 1,800, 2,000 yards easy. And it's going to be good. It's going to be good. I know.
2,000 yards easy. What deep threat are they going to have to defend against to stop them from stacking the box all day long and just daring Daniel Jones to throw the ball?
They're going to be scared Daniel Jones is going to run. That's what's going to happen.
I mean,
they're going to be so scared.
They're
going to be so scared of the RPO.
I remember playing the QB spy on Madden like 96 when I played Steve Young. I don't know, Bob. What do you? So Saquon is at plus 700, same as Cincinnati Joe Burrow. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on this?
Sure. So I should probably preface it and say they're going to give the award to Dak Prescott. All he has to do is finish the season. I just don't think there's any real value in. I think he's like minus 150 or plus 100. There's no value in that bet. I mean, I agree with you guys. I do not think Dak Prescott is that good. I think he is overrated, and I think the Cowboys will falter at some point this season. But for what his odds are, I'm not even touching Dak Prescott. So Burrow and Winston. With Burrow, I think he was on pace to be the offensive rookie in the year before he got hurt. He showed some really good flashes. Now he has, I think, one of the better young wide receiver cores in the league with Higgins, Boyd, and now he gets his college wide receiver, Jamar Chase, back. I think Joe Mixon's in line for a big year. So if we look at Burrow as someone who can take a leap with this team, and I mean in the win column, if he can get this Bengals team on the cusp of the playoffs and put up 4,500 yards, and put up 30 touchdowns, which I certainly think he's capable of at 7-1, I like the value there. I certainly wouldn't count out Saquon Barkley. I'm a little bit skeptical with him and the injuries, but if he's healthy, there's no reason he can't put up 2,000 all-purpose yards.
I can think of 5 reasons they bend down right in front of Saquon Barkley. In front of Daniel Jones, in front of both of them. It's the Giants' offensive line, which I have seen get Swiss cheesed since, like, I don't even know.
You asked about a deep threat before. I think Kenny Golladay and Sterling Shepard are actually pretty formidable.
If Sterling Shepard can stay on the field, sure. And we've seen. All right, 2,000 yards for Saquon Barkley. I am all over the under. But let's move on from my angry Giants fandom to player totals and a former New York football player, Sam Darnold. 3,750 and a half passing yards, minus 112.
Sure.
Bob.
Yeah. No, this one actually comes with stats behind it. So he averaged 220 yards per game in his over 3 years for the New York Jets in a disgusting offense. So, if we go back to last year, Bridgewater was 18 yards short of this total in the same Carolina offense, and he did that in only 16 games. So now you're getting a 17-game season. Carolina's defense, 18th in points per game. So I expect them to continue to play behind. They're one of the younger defenses in the league, forcing Darnold to throw the ball more. And now he has some of the best weapons he's ever seen in his career. He gets, what's his name? Robbie, help me out. Robbie Anderson back. I think it's a better situation for him. And the most important thing is there's no Adam Gase. If we forget all of the people who left Adam Gase, Ryan Tannehill took a jump. Devontae Parker took a jump. Kenyon Drake took a jump. If you leave Adam Gase by default, you will be a better football player. So this number and what we've seen him actually put up with the Jets with no weaponry at all, I think he's going to blow this out of the water. So 3,750 to get 3,751 in 17 games. He just has to stay healthy. That's the biggest thing with any of these bets.
All right, let's talk about Joe Burrow again. Over 4,200 and a half passing yards at minus 130 on DraftKings. Dan, Joe Burrow is not escaping Adam Gase, so he's actually going to have to do this on his own. What do you think?
Obviously, him staying healthy is, if he misses 1 or 2 games, it's his shot. I think I like his over. I do like the addition of Jamar Chase in the draft, just to give him a little extra flexibility, a couple more options to throw to. He averaged 268 a game last season, and now he's getting someone who he obviously is boys with, and obviously that's always a lot of smoke and mirrors, just that, being good in college together and being good in the NFL together can easily just transition, and it doesn't happen all the time. But I do like him to at least match last year and then some. So I actually do like over 4,200. I don't like over 4,400, or I think it's going to be or even maybe 4,300. I do think it's going to be close, but I do think if he can stay healthy and play, the 17 games or the 16 games the 17 games that they want him to play, I think he will eke past that number.
All right, let's move on to someone who didn't escape Detroit. Matt Stafford went off to the bright lights and left poor TJ Hockenson out of the University of Iowa all by himself. Then Kenny Galladay was like, peace, I'm going to the East. And now it's just TJ Hockenson. Over 770.5 receiving yards, minus 115 on DraftKings. Bobby.
Sure. So last year, Hockenson put up 723 yards in only 16 games. So 770 seems realistic. But what I really like about it is Goff really favors his safety net. In Los Angeles, it was Kupp. But also he really loved his tight end in Tyler Higbee. Higbee saw 8 targets a game last year. Hockenson only saw 6 a game last year. So I think his targets increase. It really is just Goff is, while he's getting ready and while he's getting acclimated to this new offense and this new scenario, I think he's going to use a lot of TJ Hockenson underneath. And this is a line that Hockenson almost hit on his own last year in 16 games. So you had another game in there and you give him a quarterback who just wants to dump it off and get the ball out of his hands as fast as possible. So this number seems a little low for me. I got him projected around 850.
All right. Let's stay in the North. Let's stay in the NFC. Let's stay with tight ends. Let's talk about Irv Smith Jr. Dan, we've got 575 receiving yards, over under. Bob's liking him at over 575 at minus 115 on DraftKings. We got Kirk Cousins throwing to him. What do you like?
I think this number of 575 is very low, and I agree. I would probably take the over as well. I know it's tough to see Kyle Rudolph gone. Obvious, great memories back in 2013 of having him on a fantasy team and him scoring 30 points, and then the next 5 games scoring none. He was there for so long, I forgot that he was even on the Vikings for a second. I was like, he has to be gone by now, right? But no, I agree. I think that over 575 is about right. I would probably put him over somewhere for the season, probably 650 yards in the season. So I would easily, and I mean, minus 115, that's pretty good value for a pick that I think is going to be over by 100, but I'd love to hear what else, if Bob has any other thing to add.
I mean, we got a small sample size of Irv Smith Jr. as the starter. I mean, this guy's a second-round pick from 2 years ago, so they have some draft capital invested in him. In the 4 games that Rudolph was out due to injury, he got 5 targets a game. He averaged almost 46 yards per game. So over the entire season, again, I think he goes well over this total. They do have another tight end. They do have another tight end on the roster. I don't know if he steals really enough targets from him. They do have their 2 wide receivers solidified on the edge in Thielen and in Justin Jefferson. But Justin Jefferson also, I think he just hurt his shoulder. It's not supposed to be serious, but if he misses a couple games in the beginning of the year, it's more targets for Irv Smith. So he'll establish himself as the number 1 tight end on this offense. And it's really just the number for me. It's far too low for a guy that we saw perform in very small glimpses last season without Rudolph.
All right. And for the last one, let's go out west. Let's go to the LA Rams' own Cooper Kupp, who now has Matt Stafford throwing to him instead of TJ Hockenson. over 93.5 receptions. And I just want to take this moment to reference that Cooper Kupp was married in college to his sweetheart, Anna, which has nothing to do with anything. I just really like it if someone could put up a picture of her. But over 93.5 receptions for sort of your Cole Beasley slot receiver type on the other coast. Bob, your turn.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I have to finish my lineup with the Rams play. I am a homer in that regard, but this is actually a very, very accessible line. I mean, Kupp had 92 receptions in 15 games last year, so now he has to get 94 receptions over 17 games. The biggest
from
thing,
Matt Stafford.
From Matt Stafford. The biggest thing where any of these guys is health. He has had some injury concerns. He's been dinged up, I think, 2 of his 4 seasons in the league. But there's talks, again, it's camp, it's blowing smoke. He has a good rapport with Stafford. They worked out in the offseason. And as far as just his catchability, among wide receivers who played 12 games and saw a minimum of 90 targets last season, so we're talking the upper echelon of the league, he's ranked 5th in his catch percentage at 74%. So he's not dropping balls. I think over a 17-game season, if he can remain healthy, this number should not be an issue.
All right. And once again, Anna Kupp. All right, let's go to the big ones. Let's start off with the defensive player of the year. Dan, who do you like?
So my thought process on this, I wanted to go more for value than for, obviously I've been taking a lot of favorites and stuff. I do actually,
Dan.
I know. I've been chalky, but ask my women's March Madness bracket and tell me I shouldn't be chalky. So I actually do also. I like Chase Young plus 1100. It's not exactly chalky or not, but I think the Washington football team this year has a real opportunity to. I mean, the NFC East is truly the NFC least this year. And after Chase Young had a decent season last year, football team wins the conference, goes to the playoffs. You know, obviously the Cowboys are the team to beat right now, but Dak coming back, we're not sure. Chase Young gets to play 6 games against the NFC East. I think he just I see a note here about him smack talking Tom Brady. I like Chase Young 1100. I'm a little lost right now on what his odds are at the moment. I forgot to write them down, or not his odds, but the other people's odds. I like Chase Young 1100 to win Player of the Year. That's
all right.
What I like to say.
All right, and we're gonna finish out today with Dan's super bold prediction. It's like Taco Bell, and then you get those packets, and it's like mild, medium, hot, and then the one that just has a picture of Cartman on it. That's what this is. All right. So, and I don't even know what it is. Dan wouldn't tell me. I begged, I pleaded, I cried. He wouldn't tell me. Dan, what is your Super Bowl prediction? And by the way, if it's about the Giants doing anything, that's it.
It actually is. So you're spot on, Alex. So right now, there was not one person that I was more interested to watch this season than Evan Engram. I know I already mentioned him once, how he said he could not catch a ball all last season. If you've been a fantasy owner of him or a bettor of him, he is one of the most frustrating people to ever follow. And especially on a team where he was the best target, the top target for most of the season last year, all the injuries, just the carousel of the wide receivers coming in and out. It was tough to watch him not have much success with Daniel Jones. My bold prediction this year, Evan Engram currently over under total yards for the season set at 550.5.
Oh.
My bold prediction is that Evan Engram goes for more than 700 receiving yards this year.
Okay, I thought you were going to say 1,000, and I was going to pitch myself off the balcony.
No, I think that he reemerges as one of the best targets for Daniel Jones. He gets his mind right. He starts to be able to catch the ball. We've seen him do in the past. Just the last couple of years struggled. And obviously, like I said, on with BARKLEY, they're going to need someone like that to catch those passes.
But isn't the past before the last couple of years Ole Miss? Has he done it in the NFL?
Has he had good seasons in the NFL?
Like he was a star at Ole Miss as sort of your tight end receiver combo.
I think last year was the only year that he struggled. I think the year before that he had a decent year.
Wasn't that his rookie year?
Yes.
He's been in the league 4 years. He flashed.
I've just blocked a lot of it out of my head.
I was getting nervous for a second. I was like, is he only 23?
No, I just I think I have PTSD brought on by Dave Gettleman. Bob, what do you think about that? Dan's putting him in TJ Hockenson territory.
Sure.
700 plus yards.
I mean, if we look at last year, he had 654. He's probably the fourth option in this offense behind Golladay, Barkley, and Sterling. I loved him coming out. He's a great talent as the tight end wide receiver hybrid that you mentioned. I can certainly see him going over his projected yards. 700's a little lofty. I think he can certainly get there, but that he has to assert himself as maybe that third option in the offense. But coming off a 654 last year, it's certainly possible. And now you're getting an extra game out of it. So him being healthy, him coming in mentally ready and realizing if I don't perform this year, they're not picking up my fifth-year option. That usually motivates people more than anything else. I can certainly see it happening.
All right. Dan, you're absolutely breaking my heart. There was no need to get my hopes up like this. And why? All right. Well, that's it for the Propcast. We're going to be back next week and every week doing a Propcast talking about player props, game props, how the Giants start off 0-9. Season starts Thursday, September 9th with Dak Prescott, who is not that good, visiting the Super Bowl champions, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tom Brady, and whoever else plays for that team. I don't know. Their coach wears one of those hats that Samuel L. Jackson wears, but he wears it backwards. September 9th, football returns. Life is good. Evan Ingram's going to get 1,500 yards receiving, go to the Pro Bowl, potentially as a quarterback. I don't even know. Why not? Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Dan. And that's it. Better Off Propcast, NFL. We're out.